Hi and welcome to Astar's Place and the Sewing School. I'm so excited. Let's just go back a little bit for those of you who are joining me for the first time. We found the pattern, we looked at the pattern, we looked at the fabric selections for the cape that we're going to make today. So I've got my lining fabric, my top fabric, and I've got interfacing. I didn't talk about that last time, so I'll talk about that today. You're going to need a tape measure, you'll need some cotton, you'll also need some sharp scissors and a little tip. If you've got brand new scissors for dressmaking, please do never use them to cut on paper because you will blunt them and you will not like yourself. You'll also need some pens or marker pencils, and you need some pins. Right, last week we went through when you open up the pattern, you'll see inside some instructions. They also will tell you how, whatever you decide to make, they'll tell you what pieces of the pattern you need, and they will also tell you when you're cutting it out how many pieces of the fabric you need to cut. Now, for example, this is section A or section A of what we're making, which is the long cape, and it tells me that I need to cut 4 of the fabric, that's the top fabric, and cut 2 of the interfacing. Now, when I was cutting this out, I thought, now why do we need 4 of those? Well, you'll see as we go along why you need 4 of that, because that actually means that we're going to have a self-facing, which I'll show you. Now, the other piece of the panel here tells me this is for the side back and side front, and it tells me to cut 4 of the fabric and to cut 4 of the lining. I'll get to that in a minute. And then for the back, it tells me to cut 2 pieces, or 1 on the fold, which we've already gone over, and you also need to cut 1 on the fold for the lining. The other thing that they tell you is you need to cut 1 little piece here, which is this bit here, pattern number 4, which goes, you can see on the instructions from the manufacturer. It tells me that I have to cut 1 on the fold for the interfacing, so I don't need to cut any of the fabric. Plus there's this little tie here, that's going to become a little loop for the button. Now, the great thing that you can do with these patterns is, when I look into this pattern, there's 2 versions. There's the long version and there's the short version. The long version doesn't close. Now, I don't want a cape that doesn't close, so what I've done is I've just looked across here, looked across at the instruction for cutting out manual. Notice that I need this little bit here, which is 5, which would go with this pattern here, and I've actually cut that out at the time. Right, once everything is cut out, the next vital thing that you have to do is you have to transfer all of the markings from the pattern to the fabric. Now, when you look into this, you'll see that I've cut it to the line, and you'll see these little notches here, or little nodes. You'll also see these little marks here. Now, they have to be transferred across on each and every piece. So what I do is, and the other thing I've got to tell you is, when you are cutting it out, make sure that you cut straight around the line as close as you can go. See how I've got a longer bit there, the pattern finishes there, and I've got a couple of mils on either side of that. If you do that, what will happen is, when you go to construct all and put your pieces together, that will be out there and it may not fit. It doesn't really matter on this cape, but for something like that is highly tailored, that we get into that in due course, you need to make sure it is the precision and what you do now. And I know it sounds like really boring, but it is important that you cover all of those little points before you go any further, because what's the use of cutting it out and doing it if it's not right? Okay, so what I do is, along here I've got the notches there, and I've also got little markings here. Now, those markings there are for when I do the little tab at the top for the button, so they have to be transferred across. So all I do is have a good look into there. So there's the marking for 12, and there's the marking for 12. So if you're a 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, whatever you are, the manufacturer and the designer has done everything for you, so you just have to follow what they do, and it's so simple. So what I do is I just get my little marker pen here, and it's just a matter of going into there and then just making a little mark there, and I'm using red because for obvious reasons, so that you can see it, just a little mark there, a little bit mark there, and then where those little notches are, so there's one up there, that one there, you just trim into there ever so gently to take that out. Now those bits there are very, very vital, because when we come to put all the pieces together, these all need to all connect up. So that's given you all the instructions on cutting out, laying, transferring your markings. When I come back in stage 4, we're going to look at pinning all of the pieces together to start the great bit, which is the sewing. I hope I've been of help to you. I will see you again soon.